How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be talking about a Ford Focus that has a major coolant leak. This is a common coolant leak that I've come across multiple times in the workshop. I'm going to be sharing with you how that fault presents and how you can easily and cheaply rectify this fault. Okay, so firstly, how does this fault present? Well, I've heard the customers say a few different ways over the years on how exactly it presents, but number one, it's going to be coolant loss. They're noticing coolant loss and they want it checked over. Number two is going to be a coolant smell. They've noticed an unusual smell inside the vehicle and they want us to assess it. Number three is the carpet wet. So they're noticing down where the pedals are on a right-hand drive that they're having their left foot in particular is having a wet patch around it, so they want that checked over. All of those three faults are all related to the exact same thing, which is a heater core / heater matrix leaking. And where it's leaking is at the joints on the pipes, and what you're seeing here is the actual leak. So this is footage from the last one that I worked on, and you can see a close-up shot where that coolant is running down on the pipe. Now, when you get your hand up and you get onto the plastic clips, be it on the upper or the lower, the inlet or the outlet, you're going to see that the tension has probably gone off that plastic clip. That doesn't mean the plastic clip is necessarily bad. That means that the O-ring is degraded on the inside of it and you may be able to reuse it. I have got new clips in the past as well to install, but depending on, you can just get the O-rings after the repair and see if the clips are all reusable, or replace it as a kit depending on how yours is. Now, how do we assess this? A couple of easy things. You need to take the trim panel on the left-hand lower part out of the way, which goes up towards the center console. Get that out of the way, make enough room, have a light, have as much visibility as you can. Would recommend having a type of headlight like this. This is something that's very useful, especially when you're in really tight areas where you have to use both hands and you cannot shine a light. If you have a magnetic light that you can put on the pedals, that's also very effective in that area, but make as much room as you can while having as much visibility so you can see exactly what's going on. Once you are down in the area, before you strip everything out, you can drain the coolant if you want. You can clamp off the pipes on the heater core up under the bonnet to limit it down, or just have a container and some towels to actually catch the coolant, because you're going to have some coolant loss as soon as you separate the pipes. But the main part of this job is when you get to separating the pipes. So those black plastic clips, they'll easily come off. Just a screwdriver with your hand, you'll pop them off, simple clips. But the pipes themselves will require some delicate prying and pushing to remove them. The most important part of the removal is not damaging the pipes. I have seen in the past mechanics unfortunately pry them too hard and damage, be it the upper or lower pipes, to where they were unusable. If this happens to you, you're going to have a heater core, heater matrix, if it's the lower ones, that needs complete replacing. So the job goes from very cheap to very expensive extremely fast, or the upper pipes will need replacing. Again, the cost is going to go up if you do damage on it. So strongly recommend being extremely cautious at this stage and just taking your time. And how do I actually separate them? Well, once you have that black plastic clip out of the way, which again is very straightforward and simple, you're going to get two flat screwdrivers and gently go in between. You can use trim tools as well if you've got reasonably firm ones, but put them either side and just gently pry up. So any tool like that, flat screwdriver like that, on either side, and gently pry up. If it actually moves by just grabbing and pulling, all the better. You won't do any damage that way, and you know that the material on the inside and outside is going to be good. So recommend doing that first. If that doesn't work, then just pry gently on it and take your time. Maybe try and twist the pipes either way as well, and eventually it will come out. They always do. What you're going to find is when you do separate them after the coolant has come out, the O-ring tends to stay in those lower pipes. So you will need a tool like this, which is just a hook pick, and you can use a wire, coat hanger, something as well, and just wrap around and gently pull it up. Again, you don't want to do any scraping with the tip of this, so it's just gently around, pull it up, and it'll be good to go. After you get them out, I would recommend using something like this. Don't use a sandpaper that's a heavy grit. This is a 3M Scotch-Brite pad, and just clean up the area. The job is only going to be as good as the cleaning that you do. So if you make certain that the inner part and the outer part is all clean, then you're going to have a successful job. I have heard a number of people say that these are a failure. It's only a failure because of the preparation in the cleaning. If you haven't damaged the pipes, if the O-ring is the correct size, if it's cleaned and seated right, then this won't leak after you do the repair. So there's a couple of different ways you can go. You can just replace the O-rings and reuse those black plastic clamps, or you can get new ones and they're part of a kit. You can buy them. I will link them in the description if I can find them, but you can get a whole kit for that as well. Use rubber grease or a suitable lubricant on the O-ring as you sit it down. Make sure it's seated in the right position as you press it together, and it's going to take some force to actually mesh that together again. But once you have it seated all the way to the base, then put on the clamp and you shouldn't have any issues. Size wise on the O-ring is 18 by 2. I think actually works. The exact sizing I think is 18.6 by 2.4, but in generic kits I have seen them work where it was like 18 and it was by 2.5 in the section. So you're talking about an 18 inner diameter. If you have a multi-kit that has a load of different ones, which I had, did get a suitable one, or potentially the dealers definitely used to do these, but the last ones that were got were online kits as well. So either or, it's going to be a cheap fix. And if you have a access to a generic set of O-rings, it may have the correct sizing in it. Once you have it all back together, don't put the trim back on until you've ran the vehicle up, done some test drives, and made sure that that coolant is not leaking from that O-ring. Again, once you confirm this nice and dry, you can put everything back together again, but you don't want to make the mistake of putting everything back and finding you still have some coolant loss. And that is pretty much it. As long as you take your time, you don't do any damage on the separation, you make sure that all the O-ring gets taken off. If it has been stuck on, you could have some of the remaining part of that O-ring stuck on the inside edge. So maybe a mirror, some light, and make sure that everything is taken out and cleaned before you put it back together. This can be a 100% successful job for pretty much $5 or less if you do it the right way and you make sure it all goes back together correctly. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.